Everybody to the Therapeutic Brother. I am your host, Eric M. Burns, licensed marriage and family therapist in the states of California, Nevada, and now Texas. And I'm really excited about being licensed in Texas, as I have family and friends and colleagues that are down in Texas, and they're letting me know that Texas needs African American therapists to work with their wonderful population. So I'm looking forward to expanding my virtual practice into the state of Texas. On tonight's podcast, I have the pleasure of having my very first guest on the Therapeutic Brother, and it is a dear friend of mine. We have been friends since probably before high school, probably before high school, and and this person has been through a lot. And let me tell you the reason why this we're having this conversation tonight. Social media is a bitch. And I know, being someone who is trying to use social media to expand their platform, there's other people on social media that don't really understand the power of social media. And my friend reached out to me after seeing a TikTok video this past week of an African American man who was on Facebook Live admitting to shooting the mother of his unborn child in the head, talking about how it felt like a dream and said, I can't go to jail. And then he was in front of his ex wife's apartment and he said, I'm about to kill her too because she was the source of his depression, blah, blah, blah. And the video cuts off. You can hear this man saying, as he runs into her house, today is the day. And my friend, was texting me all this week, and because I'm so busy, sometimes I don't have the opportunity to text people back. And finally, she reached out to me today and said, "Listen, I need to talk to you about this bullshit because she is a domestic violence survivor." Now, obviously, I'm not going to give you her name because I want that part of her to remain private. However, she is courageous enough to come on and have a very difficult conversation on domestic violence and her experience as a survivor. So let me bring her on right now. Hey, you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, thank you so much for reaching out this week. And I must admit that when I saw the video myself, I was disturbed. It was disgusting. It was deplorable. It was cowardly. It was inexcusable. It was inexcusable. And I know that domestic violence and domestic abuse and all that stuff is almost as big a pandemic as this freaking COVID that we're dealing with, right? So,
Right.
please, if you don't mind, share a little bit of your story and what made you reach out to your friend, the Therapeutic Brother.
Well, let me first kind of say what happened to me. Um, Married for some time, and over the years, my husband, changed and became violent and angry. I'm 5'5". He's 6'4". When he became violent, this man is almost a foot taller than me. His anger was so bad that he broke bones in my face. Um, Left me with some nerve damage in my face. I bled so much when I was holding our son that they thought he was hurt. So just to kind of give you a picture of what I've experienced, just on a snippet of it. So seeing this man on social media doing what he did, or anytime I see anything dealing with domestic violence, it always is going to bring back those memories of the abuse that I received, the fear that I lived in, sleeping with my keys, sleeping with a knife, trying to make sure I had an exit plan. When someone is violent like that under the guise of love, it's really confusing, um, to say the least. It's confusing. It's scary because you love them, but you're scared of them. Um, I've been apart from my divorce from my husband for 5 years, and he, I believe he's a narcissist because he exhibits a lot of those attributes. But One of the things he did is he reached out to me on social media during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I always put something up, and he basically was like, "Survivor my ass. You're not a survivor. I would have never killed you." But then here you look at this man who killed two people.
Two women. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So you never know. You can't take it lightly. Oh, well, he just pushed me, or he just like, no.
Yeah.
There are so many women dead and men behind this. It's serious and it's scary. And we disregard it. Our culture disregards it a
Now
lot.
when you say our culture, let's
Hmm.
keep it funky. Let's keep it 100. We're talking about the
Black people.
African American culture, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
We dismiss it. We figure, oh, you know, it's all right. Just put some makeup over it. We shine things on. We don't address it. We're not going to put another black man in jail, and we're not going to tell anybody it's going to stay in the house. And that's why so many women are dead. I remember when I was a kid, one of my mom's friends from high school who used to braid my hair, she was killed by her husband.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have to do better.
Yeah. One thing that I do appreciate about you, and thank you so much for your honesty, because I'll put a trigger warning before I upload this, because this is a difficult conversation, and as an African American man who grew up in an environment where I saw black men emasculated constantly, right? I saw
Hmm.
black men emasculated, invalidated, not heard, being talked about. I grew up in a household where there was domestic violence. It was prevalent in my household. And I remember hearing, my mom and my stepdad fighting, physically fighting. And I was afraid to go out of my bedroom, right? I was
Hmm.
afraid to leave out of my bedroom because all of a sudden it got real quiet. It's like, shit,
Right.
did somebody die? Right? And as a kid, you're paralyzed, right? You're paralyzed and you're brought up thinking that that's how you handle disagreements.
Hmm.
And I love the smell of coffee so much, especially in the morning, because when I would smell the coffee in the morning after those nights, I
Hmm.
felt comfort because I knew no one had died. And I knew now that I could come out of my room. And I remember, I'm 9 years older than my sister. And I remember when they would get into it, I would just snatch her up, take her in my room, and I'd play the music really, really loud, and we'd dance around like we were in concert. So it's not okay. It's not okay. And, I've had to do a lot of work on myself. This is an honest conversation, right? I was
Yeah.
arrested it wasn't domestic abuse. It was domestic. I think it was battery or something. It was one of the
Hmm.
lowest chart. It did that don't make it that don't make it better,
Right.
right? That don't make it better. And part of me getting into therapy and becoming a therapist was because of those experiences. So and all that to say, because I kind of digress, because this is a difficult conversation to have. Um, I remember during domestic violence, you always post those things on your Facebook page
Every year,
every
because
year.
October is breast cancer awareness, but it's also domestic violence, and you never see it. So I've always tried to post some information where you can go to Stand or go to whatever
Yeah.
organization is nearby.
My sister's house, my sister's keeper, stand for families free of domestic violence, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's crazy. And when you say how you used to, be in your room fearful hearing the noise of what was going on, that was one of the reasons I got a divorce because I did not want my son to experience what you experienced. That was one of the
yeah,
reasons I left when he was so little. No matter how I felt or what I loved or whatever, I refused to let my baby grow up in that environment.
yeah.
And I hate that Cameron, excuse me, my oldest, it's okay.
So
I hate that
irresponsible.
he, I know. Look, it is what it
Go
is.
ahead.
I
Go
hate that
ahead.
my oldest child even got a little bit of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's um,
What
okay.
what what would you say to women and men? No, what no. Because I think we all know what we would say to women, right? Who are in that situation. Get out. Get
Hmm.
out. Um, and until that man gets the help that he needs for himself, right? Um,
Right.
because I don't want to make any. I don't want to say, oh, I mean, I know what was going on in my household as a young person, and some of the
Hmm.
things that I heard my mom say to my stepdad were
Right.
truly horrific. And I know there's everybody has their own perspective. My perspective was I heard her say some things that were very demeaning, very emasculating, just downright mean and cold blooded. And he said some things too. Don't get it twisted. He said some things too. And
Right.
eventually somebody crossed the damn line. And whether it was her or him, it wasn't. There was no excuse. They should have never had that kind of relationship.
Right.
They should have never had that kind of relationship. What would you say to the men out there? Because I think we all know what we would say to the women. What would you say to the men out there that are perpetrating this type of bullshit?
So the men that are the abusers.
Yes, yes,
Oh, why? Well, first of all, why? I mean, what is going through your mind that you think that this is okay? Especially if you profess to love this woman. Do you think it's going to make the situation better? What is it in you that you can't do better, be better? In some cases, there are, arguments where it's back and forth and they're saying things that shouldn't be said, but like, in all honesty, walk away, period. But in some cases, it's just a, a man trying to control this woman, trying to maneuver her to be who he wants her to be and act the way he wants her to act. And if she flinches the wrong way or puts on makeup or just wants to do whatever and they lose control, they feel that they're going to just put their hands on you and it's going to make you do better. What logic is that? What's going on in your head? How
right,
can you love somebody and hurt them
right, right.
purposefully?
That's the $1 million question, right? That's the $1 million question. And I
And then, I'm sorry, but
go
and
ahead.
then when they try to leave, you either try to stop them or you don't understand it or you chase after them and harm them or kill them. What I don't understand the logic.
And unfortunately, there is no logic when a person is an abusive person and they haven't gotten their help and they haven't, because for me, in working with a lot of men, in working in the domestic violence field, uh, a lot of the men struggle with low self-esteem. They struggle with invalidation. They struggle with emasculation, and they don't get that shit worked out. They don't get that shit worked out, um, and yeah, I just, whoo, this
See, but
was.
that's not fair.
It's not fair. It's not fair. And that's why
It's
I'm
not
glad we're
fair.
having this conversation tonight. And I'm glad that you were so courageous to come on and share your story, because it's relevant, it's important. And, the whole thought process behind this podcast was to spread awareness on Black mental health. And for my brothers out there, we have to do better. Like my guest is saying, we have to do better. I had anger management problems all throughout my childhood and teenage years and even early adult years. And those anger management problems cost me a lot. Cost me a lot. And I'm still a work in progress. I still get angry. And now it's like, okay, well, okay, what's going on with me? Let me check in. Am I insecure? Am I feeling jealous? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling unheard? Am I feeling unvalidated? What am I feeling emasculated? Right? We have to check in with those feelings and those emotions and
Can I
be
ask you a
able to.
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. But when you were younger and you were going through this and you were feeling, whatever it was that was going on at that time that made you lash out, when you lashed out, did it make it better?
Oh
Did you
no.
feel better?
Listen. My
I've always wondered that.
No, hell no. Because now I got to apologize for my immaturity, my emotional immaturity. And sometimes listen, I, girl, I got hit with a typewriter while I was sleeping one night, right? I might still struggle with CTE. And I'm not making light of it.
Right.
When you do stuff like that, you have to expect a response. And I remember in one of my first relationships, it was so because we both had needs that were not unmet. We had emotional needs. We had both suffered through traumas and everything else. And some days, and we never knew who was going to set it off. I mean, she was a very jealous individual. I was a jealous individual, and and this was before cell phones. So if I came home from work 20 minutes, 30 minutes late, she might, throw a pot at me, or she would go and get knives all the time. I got knives pulled on me all the time, and it's like, what the hell are we doing? And so I think that for men, it has to start with, we got to love ourselves. We have to love ourselves. We have to understand that, in their frustration, women might say some stuff, and it doesn't give you the right to put your hands on them. It doesn't give you the right to break bones in their faces and to cause them to bleed all over your baby to where the people think that your baby's hurt. It's not okay, fellas. It's not okay. The shit that happened on TikTok was horrible.
Not okay.
It was horrible. It was disgusting.
It's scary.
It's scary. Yeah, that's the word.
Scary.
It's scary.
Honestly, to
It's
me,
scary.
Scary.
And brothers, I would implore you to learn how to talk about your feelings and your emotions. Learn to ask for what you need from your woman, emotionally, psychologically, right? If you feel she's not validating you, tell her that you need validation. And then if she's not willing to give you validation, then you got a decision to make, right? If you tell her that you need her to listen to your perspective, to understand your perspective, to validate your perspective, you got, and if she's not willing to do that, then we got we have another decision that we have to make. If we're frustrated because our personal lives, our professional lives are not going the way we want them to go, we have to be willing to talk to our woman about that. And if she's not willing to validate that, then we got a different decision. We have to be able to engage in difficult conversations as Black men and Black women. And these difficult conversations are not always going to feel good. And it should never resort to us putting our hands on, outside of our children, our most beloved member of the Black community, our Black woman, who is already not covered and protected in society as a whole. All these single Black women, all these single moms, all these beautiful Black women out here that are not covered and not protected. The last thing we need to do is have them in an unsafe environment. And I know that I've been guilty of that. So listen, I will own my shit. That's how I became a therapist. I'm a wounded ass healer. Whew.
That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Can I suggest that
real quick,
when you communicate with your woman and try to get her to understand what you need, make sure she understands. Because sometimes you can say something and you think we get it, but we might not really understand where you're coming from. So be patient and continue to talk.
Okay, so let me ask you. Let me pose this question. What if I'm sharing my feelings and my emotions with my woman, and I'm trying to tell her, because there's a therapy called emotionally focused therapy, which is what, my own therapist has been encouraging me to engage in, telling people how I feel.
Okay.
What if I tell my woman how I feel and what's going on with me, and she becomes defensive, or she gets frustrated, and I'm not heard and I'm not validated? What if my woman is not willing to even validate me or admit, or even own, not admit, but just own the fact that she might have a role in making me feel this way? Do I walk away at that point, or do I continue? What do I do? That's I'm asking you as a Black woman.
So if she refuses, just flat out refuses to see where you were coming from and validate your feelings and try to help work through it, together, then you walk away. I just say that we're naturally going to be defensive because it's self-protection. But don't run that first time. And I know that's hard because you're being emotionally, vulnerable.
Yeah.
But if you try to say, okay, she's being vulnerable too, so she's trying to cover up and be defensive so that she doesn't feel so vulnerable either. Let me breathe and try this again.
Okay.
And I know that's a hard thing to do, but sometimes, because I know sometimes I can get defensive, and it's not that I don't want to hear the person, don't love the person, don't really care about, where they're coming from. I do, but it's just a natural instinct to protect myself as well. But all I can say is keep trying to a point. But if you see that there's just a wall and there's just absolutely no getting through, you don't see a little chip away of changes, then at some point you need to decide if this is going to work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Because fellas, sometimes we have to walk away from relationships that are not making us feel good. And like my guest is saying, you got to try, you got to work it out. And I would encourage brothers to be emotionally focused. I try to be that daily and try to have those courageous conversations, especially at my age. Who got time for that shit? Anyway, I know this has been, to me, it's been a great conversation. I normally the videos are about 15 minutes long, and this one we went a little over, and I think that was okay. I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for reaching out multiple times this week after you saw that video, and I'm really glad we had this conversation. And hopefully it has helped someone. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop them in the comment section. I try to respond to each and every one of those. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Therapeutic Brothers YouTube page. Like, share, and subscribe. Share it especially, because sharing it is free 99. It don't cost you nothing to share the podcast. And I hope it was beneficial. So anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time this evening. I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. And thank you so much. My name is Eric Burns, licensed marriage and family therapist, the Therapeutic Brother on YouTube. I hope this was helpful. I know it was courageous. I want you to be well, and always, always be encouraged.